Good evening. In November 2015, the NRM Delegates Conference was held at Nambole Stadium with the sole purpose of amending the party constitution to lock out former Prime Minister and the party Secretary General John Patrick Amama Mbabazi from challenging President Yoweri Museveni for the party's top position. The amendment saw Museveni nominate Justine Kasule Lumumba as Secretary General to replace Mbabazi. 5 years later, Mbabazi seems to have worked his way back into the circles of power with the ruling party, and an invitation has been sent to him to attend the upcoming NRM Delegates Conference as a special guest of the president. What does Mbabazi's renewed relationship with Museveni mean for the NRM party and 2021 general elections? To discuss this and many others, we have invited the NRM Secretary General, Justine Kasule Lumumba. Justin, thank you very much for having honored our invitation. Welcome to the show. A warm welcome to you, and you are on the spot.
Thank you. Thank you so much, KAMARA. Thank you, viewers, and good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. Okay,
we would want, first of all, you to bring us to speed on the NRM Delegates Conference, which is taking place this weekend, because I know you've been having a Central Executive Committee meeting and maybe NEC. But just bring us to speed in terms of preparation and what is going to happen next, tomorrow and the days to come.
The temperature is now up, political temperature, in NRM, where we are going to have these activities. One, today we received the delegates who and the accredited, majority of them, because we are supposed to have National Executive Council, NEC, tomorrow. And it will be beginning at 10. And tomorrow. So today we had Central Executive Committee. Both are chaired by the National Chairman, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. But to be precise, today we discussed the part of what is going to be contained in the speech by the National Chairman. And we also discussed constitutional amendments, and the Central Executive Committee has decided to carry only one constitutional amendment, that the resolution has been passed to be taken to NEC tomorrow.
And what is this amendment?
And the resolution is to do with the mode of voting. When you look at our constitution, we are supposed to vote by secret ballot. But because of the experience we have gone through, in terms of logistics, in terms of issues of transparency, in terms of management, we feel as a party, we cannot carry on like that. And that's why SEC took a decision. And SEC is taking a decision second time, because when we had a report made to SEC by the Secretary General after the LC1 elections, part of the lessons that SEC picked out was the mode of voting. Voting by lining up.
Yes, but let me ask.
Voting by lining up, and in terms of finances, in terms of the petitions that followed, because you remember, after the LC1 vote, those who filed petitions with the Electoral Commission, the Independent Electoral Commission, the petitions were 570, but in court they were about 320. But when you compare that to the petitions we had after the primaries and elections of the structures within the party, we had about 1,600. And it was so hectic, and yet we had to go into campaigns.
But let me ask, you meet as Central Executive Committee and take such a fundamental decision to change the mode of voting. You haven't involved the 16,000 delegates who are supposed to be coming on Saturday. Is that fair to them?
But there is a process, and which is clearly spelled out in the Constitution. So SEC takes a decision, and when SEC takes a decision, makes a recommendation to NEC, and tomorrow NEC will sit. So the resolution that was passed today by NEC will be presented by SEC, will be presented to NEC tomorrow.
Which is also chaired by the party chairperson, right?
And then, if it carries
SEC is chaired by the national party chairperson,
yes, according
and
to
NEC at the same time.
And the national conference.
So yes,
so that is the constitution of NRM. That's what the members
So
of
chances
NRM
are, Honorable Justine Kasule Lumumba, that what the SEC has proposed is what will go through NEC and later Delegates Conference.
You may think so, but at the end of the day, it is the people to decide. The members in those different organs.
So again, ultimately, you will take these views to the Delegates Conference on changing the mode of voting, right?
Yes, we are. In the case it is carried in NEC,
okay,
then it will be taken to SEC. I mean, if it is carried in NEC, it will be taken to the National Conference on Saturday under the chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, why change the mode? I know because of the petition and all these conflicts you had after the voting, but can't you iron out that mode of voting by secret ballot? So you do not have a lot of people petitioning. You don't have a lot of conflicts. People, even breaking off from the party. You can actually, you as Secretary General, run it in a smooth manner that it is believable, it's robust, and people don't have to come and petition.
We are saying it involves a lot of logistics, resources,
Democracy
in terms of human power, so which the party cannot afford. Because you know it very well, we got into elections for both structures and primaries on the eve of general elections. And when we are going for general elections, elections go on for all posts. So we are a party that fronts candidates for all elective posts in this country, unlike our sister parties. And we are a party that involves every member of that particular community who carries our card, who believes in NRM, who carries the NRM ideology, is the person who either offers himself as a candidate or is a voter because he's a member. So the massive involvement of many people, not electoral college, with the exception of the special interest groups at the upper level, especially parliamentary and the LC5, you find we want to involve everybody so that everybody owns the candidate. But where you find that we have had primaries and then somebody who participated in primaries goes to contest as an independent. We had 701 who had participated in primaries and then went to contest as independents. And out of those, 31 won. You know? 31 is a big number in a parliament of 400 people. Though some of the independents, they work with us, but they didn't participate in primaries. But they decided not to contest. Maybe they had other issues. Even us people who manage primaries are the ones who are saying, let's go for lining up because of issues of management of primaries.
So let me get this very clearly once again. What is it that you are trying to cure by lining up?
Transparency is one. 2, the logistics, financial implications. 3, we want people to own. When you lose,
how does the secret ballot take away the transparency? How does a party that is massive, that has been in power for so long, fail to organize, get issues of logistical challenges?
You know, look at how we decided to separate government and the party. So we separated government and the party. The decision was taken in December. 14th December 2014. Though there you said 2015. 2015 I was making a year in office when you talked of December 2015. So when the party decided to separate government and the party, that is now more or less the time now we started off finding separate resources for the party. Because remember, we had people who are in the government, holding offices in the government, having vehicles of government, logistics of government, but doing party work. We decided to separate the two. So when we separated, yes, NRM has been in power as long as you know, but at the same time, NRM started off on issues of resource mobilization in 2015 when the decision was finally taken. And it was on the 8th of January 2015.
So before that, NRM was more parasitic to the state.
But remember, first of all, it was...
before that...
remember, even before that, it was a movement system where the movement secretariat was part of the structures of government.
Has that really changed?
It has changed. It has changed because now, remember at that time, it was more of part of the, it was a department in the government, if I may use the word. But now, we are only funded, we get funding from government under an act, the Public Parties Stroke Organization Act. It is under that political
Justine
parties that
Kasule
have membership
in
parliament.
Your political adversaries today, your political adversaries today, they don't feel that they are actually, you know, reveling against the party. They feel they are against the state, against the government, because for them, their political adversary is not a party. It's a government, because you see those RDCs, they'll be jostling in the districts there, trying to look for votes for NRM. The district internal security officers will be the same, will be doing the same. The entire apparatus of internal security will be working for the NRM party, and you know that. Some members of Operation Wealth Creation will be deployed to work for the party. Even today, the state is still so much fused within the party. Nothing much has changed, Honorable.
But Mr. KAMARA, do you remember that at one time I came here as Secretary General and informed the country that we were reducing on the manpower at the Secretariat because of logistical issues? Do you remember at one time I came here and said we were postponing certain activities on our roadmap because of issues of logistics? Why is it that when NRM talks on issues where we have challenges, you decide, even you, who I assume you are neutral, but I don't know anyway which party you belong to, you decide not to listen. You know, let me tell you that we who are doing party work, you assume that everything is okay in terms of logistics. It's not. It's not. And that's why certain decisions are taken.
Yeah, because
even sometimes some of the decisions,
is it because
some of the decisions, Mr. KAMARA, are taken under the chair of President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who is the national chairman of NRM. And then he also accepts, yes, we don't have enough resources to do this. Let's take this cheaper option. When he's the president, the chief minister of finance. So when people carry that opinion, I want you to look at the back of their mind. Have they really analyzed this? When you talk of government using, I mean NRM party using these structures, all these structures, first of all, there is no law that bars. There is no law that bars the president from appointing his son or his daughter to be an RDC.
But
or to be,
that's
to,
not, that's not
no,
what
I'm saying that.
I'm questioning,
wait. So when assuming he appoints his son or his daughter to be an RDC, and they believe in the same ideology, same ideology, you think when this person becomes an RDC, will cease to have that ideology in his mind or her mind? It will remain the same. There are certain things.
The issue is, do you have to go ahead and campaign and look for and campaign?
No, I've not talked of campaigning, but carrying the same ideology.
Yeah, you can
carry
the same ideology.
The same ideology.
But you do not have to go.
Like the ideology of NRM.
But you don't have to go into partisan politics. You don't have patriotism. You don't have to participate into partisan politics.
We have socio-economic transformation and democracy. If you carry those, you will still, as you do your work, you will make sure you impart that in the minds of the people. Is that wrong? When you are saying people, or in the 68%, we should work to make sure they get out of it, and instead begin working to have some more incomes instead of working for the
what I know, if you are appointed there,
if somebody is appointed an RDC and carries that, encourages people to grow coffee and how to look after coffee, encourages people to leave the swamps,
but you know that's not what I'm talking about.
Encourages people to have fish ponds. What's the problem? What's the problem with that?
There's a whole big problem.
It's an
ideology. You, a public official, decides to go into party politics, and that's not part of their job description.
You know, your
people, for you to carry your ideology,
campaigning for me? To show me who have you found campaigning for NRM? You know, sometimes when a head of state is going to visit a district, the head of security in that district is the RDC. So he has really to prepare For the head of state is coming.
That is not even
head of state is coming.
That is not in dispute. That is precisely their job. But I'm talking about when they get into party politics and go and even campaign, because they have been seen to be on a campaign trail. That has happened. We saw another DC clobbering a lady in Hoima. What was not their job? That was not his job.
That was very unfortunate, because
but these are the incidents.
According to our laws, nobody has the powers to beat the other. That's why there is the court process. But also one thing I want you to...
I'm just giving it out as an example.
I'm also saying that was not right. That
and
wasn't
many things
right.
that are not right.
That wasn't right.
Kasule Lumumba.
I don't want you to say many things are not right, because there are also very many good things that are happening in this country. But Mr. Kamara, one thing I want you to in your mind internalize. If you went out of your house and you found two cocks fighting, won't your mind support one of the two? Naturally, won't your mind support one of the two?
Come on, I'm not
every human being. But no, don't look at it at the cockfight. Whenever you see two people are competing, you automatically support one in your mind, even if you don't get out to go and campaign for that person. You may even say, I wish I had a way. I would have prayed for this one, and you pray for that person.
No, it's
so,
not.
But then, what is important is, how do we limit, if in case it happens, how do we limit? And how do we make sure people don't use taxpayers' resources that are meant to be for all to be used for only one individual? Okay. But at the end of the day, you should also remember there are things which you people don't want to look at in a realistic way. You should also remember what pen appoints you.
So whoever pays the piper must call the tune. So whoever's appointed...
That is your own opinion.
Okay, Honorable Kasule Lumumba, it's 5 years ever since I think you were into the office of Secretary General, and you'll be making a report, giving a report to the delegates when they come. But of course, there are those who are watching you all over Uganda now. Maybe you can give us a few details, or a few, areas, how you have been able to perform. How do you look back? What have been your achievements in that very big seat of Uganda's massive party?
My biggest achievement with my team that I pose off, and I'm so proud of, though even if you have a big achievement, that shouldn't make you arrogant. The one mistake you make may even humble you and make you serve better. At a time we were appointed, the relationship between the two big leaders in the party, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and his long-term friend, Right Honorable Mama Mbabazi, the relationship wasn't good. And these are senior people, elders. These are people I had worked with for so long. You are supposed to even understand it much better than me. You, a researcher.
You sit
for me, I'm
them.
a politician, and these are people I had been working with. I had been working with. I was a government chief whip. Honorable Mama Mbabazi was the prime minister and the secretary general. But at the same time, the president was, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni was the president. So I was working with these two people. This came up. So given the responsibility as a secretary general was a big challenge, but at the same time, my role and my colleagues, Honorable Rose Namayanja, Honorable Richard Todong, Honorable Mona, and the whole team was, how do we keep this party together so that the two don't split the party? And for me personally, I feel we achieved, because we kept NRM together as a party. But most importantly is that Honorable Mama Mbabazi, who we were perceiving to be threatening to leave the party, actually never brought back our card, never brought back the party card. But also, the party remained intact. And even these two senior people, nobody insulted the other. They were using good language. So for me, that was the biggest achievement, because it was at a very difficult time. These are two friends. Even as you talk to each of them, you have to be careful not to use a language that causes more divisions. That's one. The second, when we came in, there was the issue of register. The party has no register, the register is this side. And we made a register. Yes, it had challenges, but we had a register to begin with as we were going into campaigns. Then we went to have elections of the party structures right from the parish, village level up to national level. And we were able to present candidates for elections for most of the posts. Actually, we had 99%, with the exception of 2 parishes in Chadondo East, and also the issues we had in Chegegwa district for woman MP, those which I assume you may have known. Now, when we concluded the issue of elections, we went into we had petition. They were constituting government, but also bringing up constituting government in a balanced way. But before we constituted government, we went to Chankwanzi. We had a retreat organized by the party, and we had the people who had won, those who had been appointed ministers, the permanent secretaries, and then we said, this is our manifesto. This is what we promised Ugandans that we'll be able to do. Please, this is what we want to be done. And then after that, we had also a retreat with the members of parliament. After having the retreat, we had to bring, it was induction, but also it was orientation in terms of how policies are formulated, but also our political ideology, to imparting into the majority of the MPs are young, bringing them on board, but also encouraging them to take on the big responsibility. So those are part of the achievements. So when the government started working, we have seen the fruits. For me, when I see the Ginger Bridge and the lights are on, I smile, because it is on at a time when I'm the Secretary General of the ruling party. When I see Karuma moving on, I smile. And when I see the many oil blocks being discovered, I smile, because who is the Secretary General of the ruling party? Kasule Lumumba. As we do that, when we have the technical schools, if
Ugandans were to afford the power tariffs, because
that's a challenge.
We have the most expensive
there is
power
not
in the
having,
region.
but then there is having, and then you have a challenge of the high power tariffs, and then it goes lower. Like recently, it went lower by 0.03 cents of American cents. Then also, technical schools have been built. Look at the one in Nakaseke. Look at the one in Ajumani. But the challenge we have is that we still have the challenge of sensitizing the community to appreciate technical education, vocational education, because that's the way to go. Because education now must be more practical.
If you build technical schools and you're proud of them, and yet the technical schools, the enrollment is very low, the tutors you don't have, machinery is not in there. Yeah, but what importance now is it? Because you need to have to go all the way. You have to sensitize the people. Let's have the students there. Let us have the tutors. Let's have the equipment we need to use.
You know, knowing the challenge or knowing a problem is 50% a solution found. So I've told you there is that challenge before us. And I'm telling you, that means we are the ones to find the solution. One of the things you also promised in the party manifesto, I think, was to make sure Uganda to become a middle income, to reach a middle income status. We have failed on that. You also promised to produce 20 million bags of coffee by 2020. You have failed flat. No, you can't say we have failed flat. When it comes to issues of Ugandans getting to the middle income status, we have moved. Because now as we talk, the majority of Ugandans were not producing, including the area where I come from, which is Busoga. But if you observe now, we have challenges of market. Ugandans have gone out to produce, to grow sugarcane, so that there is sugar. Now we have a challenge of no market for the sugar. But Ugandans have gone ahead to produce milk. We now don't have enough market. We have the milk, but the market is not enough. You look at the tea, the community where you come from, the Ugandans have produced tea. People have grown, but now we have challenges of the market.
All that area,
we have now also the people have produced.
All that area,
now we have to market.
All that
but also
the
issue of handling, the issue of post-harvest handling.
The biggest contributor to our GDP is not actually the agriculture, which is employing like almost 80% of our population. The biggest contributor to our GDP are the telecoms. the telecommunication industry, and which is having very few people it is employing. In other words, the biggest population of our country is contributing less to our GDP.
When it comes to issues of the telecom industry, let's analyze it better. You people would always look at the only people who are employed are technicians. How many people are operating mobile money? At the same time, how many people are doing their business or whose businesses are flourishing because of the technology, that technology? Because I always see people, how many people are now marketing their products online? There are many. So let's not look at only those who are the technicians in MTN, the technicians, Celtel, the technicians. Yeah, let's look at all of those who are marketing.
Even you put that number,
look at all of those.
It's not even comparable to those who are in the agricultural industry. It's not comparable. The people in agriculture are very many, but still they are contributing so less. I would want to know your party and the government in power, what it has to ensure that you boost this area of agriculture so that you have your biggest percentage of your people in the country contributing a big chunk to the economy. Because even the telecom industries and the banks that we have are actually not Ugandan. What they are doing is that they are collecting money from us and then taking their money out of this economy.
That's why the NRM party took a decision that we should only invest in sectors as a party where the local people have not yet built capacity. And that's also one area where we are really doing some study as a party, so that we invest as a party. When you talk of what are we planning to make sure agriculture is better, one, we have been talking about irrigation. When you grow maize, and first of all the science of spacing, when you space maize and there is good movement of fresh air through the different plants, then you get big size of the maize cobs. But even then, irrigation makes it better.
I do not doubt the fact that you have been talking about it.
Irrigation.
You have actually talked about it, but you have not done anything about it.
Issues of irrigation.
We still have the old irrigation
the issues
schemes,
of irrigation.
like the one where you come from, beyond that in Bugiri, you go to Fort Portal, or beyond in Kasese and Doha and all the kind of stuff.
But go to Doha and see what government has done in Doha. Do you know when Doho, not Doha, but yes. Doho in Butaleja, do you know that rice, the production went up? Do you know that it has even expanded to areas like Chibuku? And even the people in Chibuku and Butebu have now taken on leaving the swamps to be the wetlands, to be free to regenerate themselves, but also putting ponds on the side. Do you know that in Butebu there are people now who can harvest fish and are able to make 20 million a year? So Uganda is growing. But what I want you to do is that we go beyond our boardrooms and go and see what is happening? Let me give you an example. When you go to areas like let's go to Katakwi. Look at Katakwi. This road that has been made from Soroti all the way to Moroto and it will continue up to Kabong. It has changed the economy in that area, because yes, there is big chunk of land, and there was no market for cassava. But now they have, because of the good road, they can market their cassava anywhere.
But you know in Karamoja, cattle rustling is back, and people are actually dying in that part of the area.
It's very unfortunate, but the government, the NRM government, one of what markets the face of NRM government is peace and restoring peace.
You can't tell it those people who have lost their relatives have gone, in Karamoja.
Very unfortunate. And we regret that and pray for the souls of the departed.
Yes, but these people...
We pray for the souls of the departed people. But at the same time, UPDF, police, are going to restore peace in that place. And I call on all security agencies, let's put together all your efforts to do what we promised to do for the Ugandans, especially President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, keeping Ugandans safe and their properties. because it's their constitution. It's a constitutional responsibility to a head of state, and they are busy working. By the way, they work both day and night.
You have talked about the growth. We have had the figures, 6% economic growth, which is commendable, which is admirable. But really,
why don't you take the one of my grandfather? Say, oh, you know, I can't do it very well.
Well, so towards the end of that, then it crashes. The problem is
somebody added on, but that is not so.
The problem is that 6% growth and all these figures you're giving us. You know, people. Really, majority of Ugandans are not part of that growth.
Yes, we recognize the 68% who are under who are working, who are for subsistence farming. We recognize that, and the statistics were carried out by government, and government came up and said, yes, there is this challenge, and that's why you see government has put up so many efforts, even including finding market for our product. That's why you find that
the glorious, growth figures,
Mr. KAMARA,
majority of Ugandans, even if you went to Bugiri today, majority of the people there are not part of that growth.
Mr. KAMARA, I'm a teacher by training. I'm a professional teacher. When you ask a question, I would really love you you give me the time to conclude a sentence. I don't use long sentences. You give me time to look at Chibinge Cooperative Society in Kalungu. Chibinge, they are exporting coffee to Germany. Chibinge. I was in Kanungu, in Kayonza sub-county. And for them, their prayer to government was, yes, government is concluding putting up this factory, but we now want to grow organic tea because it fetches more money. So there are even some communities that have gone to that level. Here we are in Busoga. We are saying we have the sugar cane, but we're only using nearly 20% of what we can get out of it. Instead of getting only sugar, can we use this to make the peppers? Can we use this to make fertilizers? Can we use to make ethanol? Can we use this so that we expand? Even when you have decided to treat locally, but don't just throw it away. The way people throw rubbish on the roadside, it is also something that can even be used to make the briquettes so that they are used for cooking. And you know, these days also we no longer have many forests, especially where I come back from in Busoga, to make for firewood and wood. So this could also be a source. Ugandans, even the government, have gone beyond thinking in the traditional way and widening and deepening the issues to do with not only democracy, but also issues to do with
I know when you talk
like
these days, you don't even have forests. You know that forests have been depleted under your watch.
You know, people cut trees in your area where you come from. Very good, beautiful trees where you come from, Mr. KAMARA. And I don't like it. Because
but Mr. KAMARA is not leadership. You are in leadership. There is a government, there is a president who is supposed to protect our environment.
The Constitution also gives responsibility to a citizen. It's not only government. The Constitution is so clear, gives responsibilities and roles to different people, including the citizen. And the effects of the actions of the citizen affect all of us.
I can see
so
now,
we should
now you're talking about people power, right? People to use their own power.
It was restored by NRM for the people, the ordinary people, to decide the people who lead them. So what do you mean by people power?
Yeah, because the
moment the people decide on the people who should lead them, then the power is with them.
Honorable Justine Kasule Lumumba, we're going to take a break and then,
Present, sir.
And then we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick KAMARA. My guest tonight is the Secretary General of the NRM Party, Justine Kasule Lumumba. We have had some kind of contradicting statements about some members of parliament who are NRM, of course, NRM MPs, or during the constitutional amendment who voted otherwise. Some people have called them rebel MPs, whether they are invited or they are not invited. Please, maybe you can clear the air on the status of these members of parliament who we're here, probably are not invited in Namboli.
The issue has both political and legal connotations underlying. One, as a politician, and somebody who has been in politics since when I was 27, 20 years ago, I know how to handle when it comes to politics. The actions of my members had political implications, and I made a political statement and said, we will not invite them. We will not invite them, and they claim the people sent them, let them go back to those people. Because they were voted by the people on the ticket of NRM. The very NRM, the principle which we carry in our constitution, that once the party has taken a decision, you must support the party position because the majority have decided. And now, the very principle that was used to support them, and they won elections and came to parliament on the NRM ticket. So I told them, we will not invite them. But remember, I'm the custodian of the NRM constitution, the chief custodian. So I was advised by the legal team that chief custodian, even if somebody is to be dismissed, must go through a process. And you have never subjected them to that process. And which is true. Which is true. So, legally, they are members of NRM. They still carry the party cards. They're on the NRM ticket in Parliament. And we've invited them for the national conference as members of NRM.
So now they are coming? On the advice of your...
The accreditation has gone on this evening by the government chief whip, and they have not yet received a detailed report of who has been accredited and who has not yet been accredited. But constitutionally, we expect them to come.
So if members of parliament who have the mandate of the people who have voted them, and that's the reason why you had some consultations as far as this amendment was concerned, and they have gone, for example, I'll take the example of Fort Portal Municipality or Kabarore District, and the people there say, you know what, we don't want this amendment, and then they represent their people, and their people are actually their bosses who have sent them to parliament. Why should you reprimand them for that?
One, I want you to remember that we had a meeting as Central Executive Committee about the issues to do with the constitutional amendments, and a decision was taken that let amendments be supported. And then we also have NEC, we also had the NEC, National Executive Council. We also had district conferences in all of the districts in this country. And we also had consultations also in all constituencies in this country. And then a decision was taken. Let constitutional amendments be supported. So when you say that they went to the people who were in SEC are people. The people who were in NEC are people. The people who took a decision in district conferences
so
are people.
are you getting,
so
are you getting reports from the constituencies that the people were misrepresented?
Even in their constituencies, the reports were filed. Even some of them themselves filed the reports. And that's why you see, even after doing whatever they did, some are saying, look here, this and this happened. Can we have this discussion? But all of that, as per the constitution of NRM, is supposed to be discussed between those people and the disciplinary committee. Mm-hmm. So as we talk now, the government chief whip has petitioned the Secretary General about the 30 members who went against the caucus decision, the party decision. Because in NRM, the responsibility of legislation was delegated to the NRM caucus. So before they get to Parliament, they must sit also and generate a caucus decision. But this one even had gone beyond the caucus. The different organs of the party took a decision.
So really, you measure democracy by the freedom you can give to the dissenting voices, not the freedom you can give to those who have already, to those who are assimilated. That's how you can tell that this institution is democratic.
But
when you let those with dissenting voices also give them the freedom to express themselves, including those who are, are party diehards. That's how we can say this party is vibrant. But for you, you do not want anybody to have a dissenting voice within your party. What kind of democracy is that?
They are free to have discussion. They are free to air out their views, even if they are dissenting views. But when, at the end of it all, a decision must be taken so that they move as a team, they move as people who decided to move together under the constitution of NRM. Because for people to live together, there must be some rules. Without rules, then it ceases, they cease to be an organized group. Now, I want you to know that this constitution of NRM is subordinate to the national constitution. So, when the national constitution, the winner takes it all. So even in the NRM constitution, when there is a debate and a decision is to be taken, the majority take the day. So what you are talking about is actually entrenched in the constitution of Uganda. The winner takes it all.
But do you know,
so
are you aware
there is no room, there is no room, there is no room, there is no room that you have ever found, there is no room that you have ever seen that they say, since there are these dissenting voices, there's a few who didn't vote, let them be the ones to take leadership. It is only NRM government that brings those dissenting views and gives them space and say, let's work together. That's why you see some members of the opposition are working with President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
You're actually punishing them for refusing to vote for an amendment of the constitution.
It's not punishing. But when you go for a disciplinary measure, you can their biggest crime is for having not voted for the amendment. You can be cautioned, you can be advised, you can be pardoned, you can be suspended, you can be dismissed. So why do you give the last one of dismissal? In your own view, why do you give the last one? There are many options. Let's not preempt what the disciplinary committee would do.
But your biggest bone of contention is because they did not vote for the amendment. And yet, are you aware that history is likely to judge these people better, and with all respect, it could judge you harshly for what you did?
I can't really comment on that because I don't know what history will bring. I don't know what history will bring. Because even in our faith, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic. There are those who say Jesus Christ did this good, this did this good, this did better. But if Jesus is to come back, if he was treated the way he was treated in that era of technology, if he comes now in this era of technology, what will happen? So it depends on the individual, but also at the same time, I don't know what history will bring. But most importantly, there must be rules to guide people if they are to move together.
Wouldn't it make you, doesn't it even make you better that among your group, you have those who maybe the majority have decided to take a direction that you want them to take, and there are a few with different voices, and that is healthy, and that is called democracy. Isn't that better? A better argument has won the day, that's okay, but there are those who think, a minority who think otherwise, and you let them, and they are all members of NRM. That, I suppose, would have made you look much better than...
Let me ask, which direction then will the party take? If each of the members of the party took a different direction, will we still have members? You wake up in the morning, and we are discussing, say, water in this glass. Those seated there, that one seated, talks going the other side, this one this side, this one this side, the other on the other side, the other on the other side. What are you left with? Are you offering leadership?
You let those with a better argument win, But you do
So
not
in
punish.
this case,
You don't have to punish.
in this case, who had the better argument?
You had, well, in your party.
Who had the better
whether it was
argument?
by
In
coercion,
your own judgment, who
whether
had
it was
the
by
best
coercion
argument?
or persuasion or any way.
No, in your view, don't talk for NRM, but in your own view, who had the best argument?
Look, I am shedding I'm shining a light into your party, and I'm looking at you, trying to disband members of your party because they have a different argument. It's not right. It's not
Members
democratic.
of the party must move in one direction. You can discuss and disagree, but the moment you decide that let's take this direction, you all must move to that direction. Because if you move to different directions, then you will not have a party. It will be something different.
All right. I think we will have to move on. All the party organs, apart from the National Delegates Conference, have endorsed President Museveni as the sole candidate for 2021. With 34 years in power, you still look at him as the one and only who can be your party chairman and again the presidential candidate?
First of all, elections within the party are organized by the secretariat. So that means I'm part of the team that organizes the primaries or elections of the party structures. But politicians are free to make their political statements, provided they hurt nobody. Politicians are free to air out their views, provided they do it at the right time or even the right forum. They are free. So when somebody wakes up and says, I support so-and-so, I support so-and-so, it is his right. And given by the Constitution, national Constitution. So when one wakes up and says, I support so-and-so, is the so-and-so I want, it is his right. And if that is what will give that person sleep, why do you deny that person sleep?
So when President Museveni came to power in 1986...
Yes, I was in primary 7.
Yes, in primary 7.
Yes.
And when 35 years later he's still in power and is looking to extend that to 40 years, did you, or maybe I could even say your parents, envisage that 40 years later the same person will still be at the presidency of Uganda? Was that the design? Was that the plan?
It's Ugandans to decide. So if Ugandans have decided for this long up to today, the majority take the day.
But if Ugandans are not approached by other people whom you compete against, for example, the FDC and other people, they cannot even go and meet their party members. They cannot even assemble anywhere. The party in power has unleashed the military and the police on them. In fact, as if the military and the police has declared war on them. How can they ably persuade Ugandans to get their viewpoint when you cannot let them see the people?
How can you say that when the NRM candidate for presidential has never gone through unopposed? They are always competitors. They are always opponents in the political arena. How do they manage to get those votes that they get?
Do you really appreciate the difficulties your colleagues on the other side of the aisle, they go through in trying to reach the people? Because you cannot make it even easier for them to reach the people and talk to them. Police has unleashed all instruments of coercion, from tear gas to rubber bullets to water cannons and everything, not to meet, really. And for them, I think it could even be right to say they are not competing against the NRM. They feel they are competing against the state with its organs.
Sometimes I see the challenge, and I also appreciate, but I also have to look on the side of the people who are acting on behalf of the state, the police. And then we come up to say, can we offer solutions? Let me give you an example. Under iPod, when all this was happening, we said there is the Public Order Management Act, which is in place. But it talks of you file a notice with police. And some people were reading it like you seek permission. And we said, how do we then cure this? Let's put our proposals for the regulations to implement this Public Order Management Act. and we put up regulations. Because if you file a notice, there should be a register that that shows that you have filed a notice and you have registered your notice with the police. So how there should be proper interpretation of the word notice, filing notice, and all of that was done. Why did we do that as IPOD? Is to make sure we simplify. We simplify so that we have space as political parties. We have space not only as political parties but also for because Public Order Management Act is for public meetings, not only for political parties, not only for politics, but also public meetings. Yes, but also one thing I want you to know. Sometimes some of us don't actually follow the law and decide not to we want to use that to play victim, to solicit sympathy from the viewers.
There are many instances when everything has been followed.
I said sometimes.
There are many instances, yes, when everything has been followed and the police still deny them the ability to be able to meet their people when everything has been followed to the letter. You know, when the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, you know, wrote to the Electoral Commission that he wanted to go and consult, you know, as
and he was granted.
On the first day, yes. He could not even move. On the first day.
He was granted, and when he was faced with the challenges, he went and had discussions with the Electoral Commission. He has never told us what transpired in that meeting, and the Electoral Commission has kept quiet. And why have they kept quiet?
Meetings in
and
homes,
why have they kept quiet? He has kept quiet. The Electoral Commission has kept quiet. We are waiting to hear what happened in that meeting. What was the way forward? What was the resolution in that meeting? I would be happy if I benefited from you.
If he stopped in Chadondo, in his own constituency, he stopped in Gulu and Lira and other places, how does he even get the energy to keep moving? Because he's being stopped by the state, not even the NRM party. Because the NRM party is so fused with the state, and you have unleashed all the instruments of coercion.
Have you ever seen me stopping somebody? When people are in a police uniform, when people are in the uniform of UPDF, those are sons and daughters of Ugandans, and who are paid by taxpayers' money. You have not seen them in this logo. Have you seen them with this logo?
I've just been listening to different military officers making statements that are going round, including one general that we have a lot of respect for, who is taking a partisan kind of angle.
Who is that?
You've listened. General Katumba Wamala has come out to say nobody should do ABCD, making statements that are really political as a serving military officer, that are partisan.
But do you know he's holding a political office? He's a minister of works, transport. He's a minister. The question should be, how do we separate him, the soldier, and him who is in politics, in the political arena, in the parliament,
you don't, because by the
and
design,
him as a minister.
By the design of your party, you have fused in state and the party.
So, you, the journalists, should be helping us. How do we separate the two or the three in one person?
No, you just don't contaminate the soldiers and to bring them into politics.
You mean politics is contaminated?
Yes, in this case it is.
So you are relating with me at your own risk.
This is the moment.
Because I'm a politician.
This is the moment when you're not.
I'm a politician. No, I'm a politician, and at a bigger level, at a higher level.
But we have seen.
So the issue is, don't talk of politics being you've used the word contaminated. Contaminated, I think talk of convincing. But contaminated, no. I think we have clean politics as Uganda compared to our neighbors. There are certain things we should appreciate.
Well, in Bugiri during the campaign, somebody was shot dead, and that's your own district.
But do you know that they were going to kill the Bokoli Central
MP? What should I call that?
Do you know they were going to kill? By the way, do you know what happened in Bugiri?
In Arua, somebody was shot dead.
People came with even sticks with the nails and were hitting people with the nails.
That's the contamination I'm talking about.
Because we kept quiet, you think there is a proverb in Rusoga that even if somebody keeps quiet, he will also be mourning his mother. Yes,
I didn't expect that from you.
And I've told it to you. Because exposing all of that went on would have shown that there was a weakness, a lapse on the side of security.
You know, I'm trying to show you that
in
the Ugandan politics can be toxic by giving you examples, and one of them was...
Do you know how many people were beaten in Arua? I was in Arua.
Somebody died in
People
in Arua.
hit Honorable Tiperu's office, where was that office hit by the NRM people?
So is it
women were beaten.
So
were they beaten by NRM people?
That is the toxicity
Please.
I'm telling about. That's the contamination.
But what is the source? It's from which side? Why do you put the blame on one side? Why don't you put the blame on both sides? And everybody is held responsible and we clean up.
Guns were put in
because
room
we
of
keep quiet,
guns,
you think?
Guns were put on in the room
Let
of
me
Honorable
tell
Robert
you,
Chagulanyi.
you hear even
and
somebody
that
who doesn't shout more would also mourn a mother.
You know Uganda is listening to you.
Yes. And I'm one woman, very careful with my words. What I've told you today, I will tell it to you tomorrow.
All right.
And that's why I always,
I think it's
most times, talk less.
It's always advisable.
So when you hear NRM people quiet, who now people in NRM have termed silent majority, doesn't mean that NRM is not hurt by the actions of some of the sisters, the political opponents or sister parties. It happens.
Let me tell you.
But remember, at the end of the day, it is NRM party in power and which has the responsibility to make sure we bring sanity to all of such things.
People in Uganda are hurting. Poverty has hit them so hard. In fact, there is even some kind of something that is trending. Probably you have seen it. Omuava Fude. Omuava has committed suicide. It could look like a joke, but people are telling you. If you've seen that thing, I've seen it moving around.
But let me ask, you mean the word suicide, you're only hearing it now? Were people not committing suicide before? Let's analyze why were people committing suicide then. Are they the same reasons that people are committing suicide now? So that we address it. We have even, do you know, in this country we have even, especially me and you have gone to school, leave our children to the TVs, and they grow with very poor parenting. And when they grow, they cannot hold themselves, especially the millennials. And then you find all sorts of things cutting themselves to see blood. What is that? Those are signs of poor parenting. Then when you see that, you find them committing suicide, go behind and find the exact reason. We have not paid enough attention to our children. We who have gone to school, our parents who had little education, had time for the children. Are we doing the same? Why is this happening? Why the word millennials? Have you analyzed it at the back?
But the education sector has been neglected. For example, the money you're giving capitation grant to primary school, only 7,000 shillings per child. If you try to calculate that, you're giving 70 shillings per child per day. Really, what kind of, help are you giving the education sector? No wonder. The children of the NRM elite will always have to excel because they are not going into these kind of schools.
When the NRM took power, remember how much money they were collecting, and look at how much money NRM government is collecting in terms of taxes now. But the issue is, what are the priorities? Government had put a lot of money since 2000 and I think since 2005 into the infrastructure, because remember the development, our partners in development would prefer most times to put more money in the software, not the hardware. So a decision was taken that let's put more money in the infrastructure, and that's why more money was put in the roads, more money was put in energy, and there is now something to show. Now government has removed the money from has reduced on the amounts of money in the roads and the energy, so that we have money even in water, because we must have clean water for home consumption, of course, that the advantages, but also to have water, to have irrigation because of climate changes. So those decisions are taken. So in education, yes, the money is little, but government, if you observe, the numbers have been growing. It started with a few, but the numbers have kept growing. So the budget keeps growing, but the money that goes to the individual doesn't grow. But if you are to look at it in terms of the overall amount of money, the money has kept growing. In terms of, and we are now looking at how much goes to the kid in terms of UPE, but you also look at money for construction in the same sector.
How do you expect children of the poor who are getting 70 shillings per day as their capitation grant compete with the children of the NRM elite who are going in the first world schools?
That is when government brings programs of Operation Wealth Creation so that this person is able to produce, to improve on his or her income in the home and be able to take care of the child in addition to what is coming from government.
All right, Honorable Justine Kasule Lumumba, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, I'll open the lines. You'll see the numbers on your screen. Please call us and talk to the Secretary General. Maybe you have a question or you have something you want to inform us or something that you have picked in the conversation. This is your moment. You have to be very precise and concise. And should you disagree with the Honorable Justine Kasule Lumumba, I implore you to disagree with respect. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick KAMARA. My guest tonight is the Secretary General of the NRM Party, the Honorable Justine Kasule Lumumba. The Honorable Amama Mbabazi is now very close President Museveni, and he has been invited as a special guest. Where does Mbabazi's return put those that humiliated him 5 years ago, almost?
Was he humiliated?
Yes, he was.
I don't recall so. I don't recall, because if there was anybody to humiliate him, I think it would have been me or Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda, because Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda became the Prime Minister and Honorable Mama Mbabazi was the Prime Minister.
In the rough and tumble of a presidential campaign, a lot was said.
No, I don't remember any of the two, whether me or Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda making any derogatory statement about Honorable Mama Mbabazi. But anyway, Honorable Mama Mbabazi and His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, these are people who had been friends for long.
Yes.
And by the way, at that age, it's also not easy to make friends. At that age, it's not easy to make friends. So if you can reconcile with an old friend, somebody you know very well, somebody who knows you, the better. But also, let it be a lesson to us that you can compete and you don't become enemies. And you can disagree in life and you don't become enemies. It is human. I see no problem with it. It is human. And so he has invited him, first of all, as somebody who he worked with, as somebody who was the Secretary General of NRM, as somebody who was a Prime Minister, as somebody who was his friend, which is okay. And if you observe, the 5 observers he has invited for NEC is Her Excellency Dr. Specioza Wandira Kazibwe, His Excellency Dr. Gilbert Bukenya Bali Baseka, Right Honorable Chintu Musoke, Right Honorable Mama Mbabazi, and also Honorable Francis Babu. These are senior leaders in this country. These are people who have served and continue serving this country in different capacities. And these are people who are highly educated, so they offered, also as professionals, they offered service to this country, other than being politicians. So, actually, for me, I think we've even limited the 5 to NEC is small, but he still has the 10 to invite to the national conference, and he has already invited.
Carrying a bigger role in the party.
I can't say yes or no. It is that should be put to him, because it is him to choose. It is him to choose. He never brought back his card back to the party. He has told you he is very ready to meet the president as long as there is need to meet him. They were together, you saw, outside this country. So I actually see no challenge, and I mean no problem, and I don't know why Ugandans really we should instead clap and applaud them and say, thank you for being good leaders. You can compete, but remain friends.
You have also invited other members of the political parties, the opposition, and yet whenever they want to move on and do their political campaign, you are denying them oxygen almost to do what they want to do, and you want them to come to your party.
As political parties under the iPod platform, we call each other sister parties. What's wrong with inviting a sister when you have a function at home? What's wrong with inviting a brother
I see that
when you have a function?
I see that you're being very
That is a sign
I see
that...
I see that you've been becoming very pretentious, that you cannot allow them, using the police and the army, to assemble and meet their members, but you are inviting them to come to your party.
But why do you demean police and the army? It's like they don't decide on their own. It is Lumumba to dictate to them what they should do. No, please. That's a state. Lumumba can come and go, but the state remains. NRM can come and go, but the state remains. And the state has been there. So these are professionals. I'm not a professional in security. I'm not. So when they are doing their work, I think what we should do is like to have a lens. Did they do their work well? Did they follow the law? Those are the things we should. But also look at the other side of the coin. How did Sandiso behave when it comes to this? What happened to Sandiso? Because you seem to be so biased that you blame only the police, the state. When do you ever blame the other side? Is it perfect? And what suggestions are you bringing to improve the situation as a way forward?
That you should do. I wish you could enforce the law like it is, and not to enforce it in a selective manner. But let me open the lines so that we get to know what Ugandans are saying tonight. The numbers are on your screen. Please call us, and if you want to speak, the Secretary General, she's here, and we could be a delegate who is coming to Kampala in the next 1 day or two. Tell us what you think about the way forward for the NRM party and how the CG has worked. I have a call online. Hello. We seem to have had a problem with that. Let me pick another call online, and please, you can just tell us your name and where you're from, and make it very brief so that we get many views. I have a call online. Hello.
Mr. Kamala.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Michael, calling from Iganga.
From Iganga.
Yeah, I want to request Madam Kasule Lumumba.
Yes.
To clarify regarding the labor MPs.
Okay.
To say that they defied the party decision. Now, what was the importance of consulting? Yet the government, the parliament even used billions of money that could put medicine in the hospital. If like the party had a decision, then they could have not wasted such resources. Secondly, I would like to challenge Madam Kasule Lumumba. Talked about Uganda is making a choice and of like Museveni continuing to rule, and he also talked about wealth segregation. Madam Kasule Lumumba, you come from Busoga sub-region. Hope you are aware that it is the third poorest sub-region in the country. What has been the impact of the wealth segregation and the NRM government onto the people of Busoga?
Thank you very much. Our caller there from Iganga. Let me try to pick some, maybe 2 or 3, and then the Honorable Kasule Lumumba will respond at once. I have a call online. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm called Justine, and I'm calling from Chotera.
Justine in Chotera, you're on air.
Pardon?
You are on air, Justine. Tell us what you have to say. Oh, it's a pity. We have lost the line to Chotera, where Justine was. Let me pick another caller. Hello? Hello? Okay. I'm going to try to speak one more and then... Hello?
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Hoima.
Go right ahead, sir. Go right ahead.
Hello. Hello.
You are on air, sir. What's your name? Go right ahead.
This is Tumusima Ivan from Paris, sir.
Palisa, you're on air. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. KAMARA.
You're welcome.
I want to thank our hero.
Okay.
Because in Uganda we don't have opposition. This opposition is all about segregation and destruction.
Okay.
So I want to appreciate what NRM has done in Uganda. And I want to thank our President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
Okay.
Please, our lady, we are wishing you very well for our function.
All right. Thank you very much. Tumusime in Palisa. All right. Maybe my producer is telling me just quite a number, but let me just try to take one more if the line is clear. I have a call online. Hello.
Hello, very good evening.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Muyumba, calling from Natete.
Mujum Natete, you're on air.
Yeah, now, I want to applaud MTV for really bringing this program tonight. Because now, what I think is, Madam Secretary for the NRM, Justine Lumumba, there is something you're forgetting. When you talk on here, there are people who are not partisan to any party, who are not related to any party. You only talk for NRM, you think NRM is doing good, you only applaud NRM. What has the government done to improve the lives of these other people who are poor? Okay? There is something that KAMARA brought up of Omab. It's trending and people are ignoring it. But it is what is hurting people. People are broke. They don't have what to eat. And you're organizing your delegate conference, you're budgeting it with millions of money that Ugandans don't know where you're getting them. Please, at these issues that are meant for Ugandans, not only for a party, consider those people who don't have any party, who are independent, who only want to improve their lives.
All right. Thank you very much. I thank you very much because you have spoken with a lot of clarity. And all of you who have called, and I'm sorry I'm not picking any more calls. It's a question of time. There's actually like one or two questions to the Honorable Justine Kasule Lumumba. Please, if you could respond to them, and then your concluding remark.
I want to thank those who called in. It's a sign that we are not only talking to each other here. There are people who are listening and following, and they've had to forego their sleep, even those who are outside this country, and have paid attention to what we are saying. So I want to thank them. I don't take them for granted. I thank them. The decision of the party, and then if we had it, why did they then go to consult? I've said consultations took place in SEC, in INEC, in the districts, but also in the constituencies. So the consultations went on because the party was generating a decision or about it. So it is not that the party had made a decision before. That's not so. Then the issue of, yes, we still have poverty in Usoga, like we also have poverty even in other parts of the country. But that doesn't mean that we who come from areas which are still faced with poverty to that magnitude won't be part of the leadership of this country. We have to. And when we are here as leaders, what are we offering? Let me give an example. If sugar in Usoga has no market, but somebody in Imbarara, people in Ankole are producing milk. When they produce this milk and it's processed, then it is the responsibility of us in Usoga to market this sugar to the people who are processing the milk so that there is a market for the sugar. It is the responsibility of we in leadership to see that the sugar which is produced in Busoga, which has no market, we talk to the neighbors, like President Museveni has done, and has talked to the neighbors, Kenya, requesting them to stop importing sugar from Brazil, but instead import sugar from Uganda under the East African Community. So the issue of Justine from Chotera, who has called, yes, I know Justine. She's called Justine Nachimba. We were together at university, same class. We did same course, and we were in the same class. Sorry that we lost.
She did not say that. Maybe she was going now to.
No, but also hearing her voice.
She looks like she has taken a different direction from yours, but it's okay.
No. I think when you heard the name Justine, you must your technician must have decided to cut and thought maybe it's my twin sister, but it's okay. Then we have Tumusime from Palisa. Then who said in Uganda we no longer have opposition. I don't want to carry that, because the Ugandans have the freedom to choose which political organization to belong to or which party to register, provided they meet the requirements of that particular party or the requirements to register a party. So I don't want to say we don't have opposition when we have about 38 political parties registered with the Electoral Commission or under the Electoral Commission. So the issue of opposition, I think I leave that to the Ugandans.
All right.
Not to me, who is a player, to be the one to carry that and also carry it on my lips. That will not be responsible of me at my level. Then some people, the issue of the poverty, or the advert going on around, we should also know that we as Ugandans, when there is peace in the country like it is, the little money you get, you always think of investing because you are sure of tomorrow. And whenever you invest, you don't have money in your hands. You will not have money in your hands. But also what we should know is that some of our activities as Ugandans have tampered with the environment.
Madam Secretary
and sometimes
General,
we
Madam
get
Secretary General, time is not on our side. Your concluding remark.
I want to thank all of those who have listened to us. But what I want to say, members of NRM, those coming for the national conference, please, for the municipality, we have only invited the mayor of the municipality, municipal mayor, municipal councillors, and the executive of the 5, the mainstream, and the chairpersons of the leagues. So the different members of the executives of the leagues, other than the chairperson, you are not invited. We shall invite you next time. This is one to deal with the constitutional amendment. And today SEC took a decision. One constitutional amendment to be dealt with, the mode of voting.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you're expecting about 15,000 members?
Yes.
15,000 delegates.
Yes.
All right. Madam Secretary General Justine Kasule Lumumba, we thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your insights on the matter, and we know you're working hard for your party, which is the job for which you're supposed to be doing. And we thank you. Sometimes Ugandans, we have different views, but that does not mean that we hate each other or anything else. We just love our country more, and that's why we want to make Uganda be in a better place. Thank you for those who have sent in your comments through telephone and those who have sent in their messages. I don't know what you're going to be saying now about the Omwavu-ish campaign. Maybe Omwavu is not going to die. Good night and God bless Uganda.